Okay, it's Josh Whedon's turn. The male feminist has been found cheating, right? Now, we'll be looking at this article and this one about his wife. And I have to say that what are these? Whedon's ex-wife, Kai Cole, alleges marital infidelity, right? So this is what this is about. He slept around. Josh Whedon is a hypocrite preaching feminist ideals, ex-wife Kai Cole says. But he's not, is he? Feminists, they don't believe that when women get married, that they can't sleep around with other guys. That's a fact. So the only way he could be a hypocrite if feminists admit their own hypocrisy, right? They want to say that women can sleep around with on their husbands, but their husbands have to remain, uh, infidelity, right? They can't come right out and admit that they're hypocrites to start with. So what they put out there, he's not being a hypocrite. There's nothing that says that Whedon can't have sex with other women, not according to any feminist theory. So anyway, that's what it's about. Now, there are Justice League Ray Fisher accuses Whedon of unprofessional behavior. Okay. The irony is there's nothing in this that says anything about that. It goes on about something else. But I want to get the Charisma Carpenters right. We talk about her character. In real life, she became pregnant, right? In previous interviews, Charisma has said she had no idea whether she would be coming back. She got a phone call from Sweating the Press, which really sucked. Really, huh? She went on and added she felt Whedon was honestly mad at her for becoming pregnant. Well, he probably look, Cordelia is a beautiful sexual person in this story, right? So you've got to work. Getting pregnant actually beats that because you can't show off her body, right? Without having to explain the pregnancy. Okay, so there's reasons for that. At the same time, Carpenter has framed Whedon's behavior in a sympathetic light, explaining, I think he was mad at me, and I saw that in a loving way, which is, it's a very complicated dynamic working for somebody so many years, and expectations, and also being on a show for 8 years. You got to live your life, and sometimes your life gets in the way, and maybe the creator's vision for the future. That becomes a conflict, and that was my experience. So she was admitted that he wanted her to remain the Cordelia character, the beautiful young woman, and her becoming pregnant in real life is going to put a kibosh to that. And she's being very understanding, right? But let me take a look at it. However, February 2021, Carpenter provided details on Whedon's abuse. All of a sudden, he's abusive, right? In an image tweet accompanied by "My truth is," and I'm sorry, I'm screwing this up. My truth hashtag is "I stand with Ray Fisher." She outlined her experience. What happened is this is what Me Too is about. Ray Fisher put out the shark bait, and all of a sudden there's a feeding frenzy. She changes her mind. She outlined her experience working on Buffy, how the showrunner created a hostile and toxic working environment, and more information on the strain put on her during her pregnancy. She went on to state she had participated in Warner Media investigating coming out of Ray Fisher's allegations. So this woman. These people shouldn't have put this in, because what she's just admitted is that she betrayed Josh Whedon. That she was all right with it, but as soon as someone hashtags him, now she wants to jump all over him. Josh Whedon abused his power on numerous occasions while working together with sets of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. While I found his misconduct amusing, it only served to intensify my performance anxiety, disempower me, and alienate me from my peers. How did it alienate her from her peers? The disturbing incidents triggered a chronic physical condition in which I still suffer. It is with beating heavy heart that I coped in isolation and at times destructively. This is a complete 180 to what she said now. What it is, this is standard too. Chris McCarpenter is a has-been. Don't you guys notice this trend? It's more than just a trend, I guess. It's a formula. They get along well when they're with these guys when they're at their peak. And then when they're has-beens and they're resentful, then they jump on the bandwagon. And she's not even doing it herself. She's waiting till someone else throws it out so she can jump on the bandwagon. This is what Me Too is about. It's bandwagoning. It says, oh, since this person said it, obviously now you can say, I'm not lying. That's what it's about. Okay, there's that. Now let's see what his ex has to say. I've been asked some questions in the press recently about my divorce from Joss Whedon, to whom I was married 16 years. This is misinformation out there, and I feel the best way to clear up the situation is tell my truth. That's very accurate. That's very telling. My truth. Not the truth, my truth. And I need to begin by saying I'm a very private person, and the act of writing this is antithetical to who I am and everything I stand for. This is bullshit. Women love giving their opinions and they love bashing their exes. So I don't believe her. At the same time, I feel compelled to go on the record to clear up some misperceptions. She isn't compelled. This is her opportunity and she's taking it. She has nothing. There's no reason when women break up from men, they see them as garbage. And so she's attacking them. I don't think it is fair for me or other women to remain silent any longer. I met him in 1991, driving across Massachusetts. Oh, by the way, she is, let's see, she's an architect, right? Sorry, let's get this going. 15, let's see, there was time in a relationship. Sorry, I went too far. Get back. I was with him when Buffy the Vampire Slayer script was adapted and the resulting movie release. It was painful to see how his vision was interpreted by the production team on the honeymoon of England 1995. I urged him to figure out how they're turning into a TV show. He didn't want to work with television anymore, following his father's and grandfather's footsteps. But I convinced him it was the fastest way to get the experience he needed so he could direct his own film someday. I had no idea in that lovely garden in Bath that it would change everything. Yeah, what this is, she says, she falls in love with this guy, right? We fell in love. What it is, she saw some guy with great status potential, right? And so she is pushing him to maximize it. That's what she wants as a partner. By the way, and the reason I point out she's an architect, if she's an architect and he's working TV, how often will they see one another? By rights, they won't. So Josh Whedon is going to marry someone he won't get together with. There were times in our relationship that I was uncomfortable with the attention Josh paid other women. He always had a lot of female friends, but he told me because his mother raised him as a feminist, so he was just liked women better. Oh my God. Men like women better anyway. We already know that. It's an outgroup bias towards women. He said he admired, respected females and didn't lust after them. Okay, this is bullshit. How would he not lust after women unless he was not gay or something? Of course I believed him and trusted him. On the set of Buffy, Josh decided to have his first secret affair. Well, of course, the affair should be secret, right? So this woman is gullible. What she said is that, oh, you're raised by feminists, so you should be a beat down little dog. That's what she's saying. Josh Whedon said he was a beat down little dog, that he knew his place. But he lied. Good for Josh Whedon. 15 years later, when he was done with our marriage and finally ready to tell the truth, when I was running Buffy, I was surrounded by beautiful, needy, aggressive young women. That's right. These women are aggressive because he was a high status man and they wanted to be with him. By the way, these girls knew he was married, but they didn't give a shit. So, in the old days, they would have been pounding on the women saying, you're home wreckers. Now they don't do that anymore. The man's entirely to blame. I felt like I had a disease. See, this is the feminism coming up. This man did not have a disease. This is normal male sexuality. He wanted to bang a bunch of beautiful women. Nothing wrong with that. Suddenly, I'm a powerful producer, and the world is laid at my feet, and I can't touch it. But he did touch it. Good for him. That's right. He upped his status. This is it. I was a powerful producer. In other words, that's him saying, like, I had power over these people. This is bullshit. He had high status. These girls were drooling over him for that reason, and they wanted to be with him, and they didn't give a shit that he was married. They didn't care about his wife. That's another thing. Anyway, he thought the affair one would be good enough, and then he could move on and outlast it. But he found out he didn't want that. Good for him. Josh Whedon admitted that for the next decade and a half, he had multiple affairs. This is with the cast and crew, by the way. All these women wanted to be with him. They didn't give a shit about fidelity whatsoever. If this was so important, then he wouldn't get any because the women would say he's married. I respect fidelity amongst men, and I won't touch him. But this is the other thing. He had multiple affairs and a number of inappropriate emotional ones. Do you understand that, guys? She doesn't even want this man to have an emotional outlet. She's not going to be there for him. She's an architect, supposedly working somewhere, and he's just supposed to be as if he wasn't married, right? This guy's supposed to have no sex, no emotional gratification, nothing, but just be there for her little puppy dog to say, look at my high status husband. And with actresses, co-workers, fans, and friends. Well, they all wanted him. Well, he stayed married to me. He wrote me a letter when our marriage was falling apart, but I still didn't know the whole truth. I never loved anyone and wanted to be with anyone in any real long-term way except you, ever. Why would he? Why he wouldn't want to deal with multiple long-term relationships. He's got one, and then he's got all these women coming after him. It's a perfect deal for the guy. And I love our life. I love how you are, how we are, who you are, and what we've done both separately together, how fun we've had. I wanted it all, but I didn't want to choose. So he accepted duality as part of his life. It wasn't duality, actually. He had the long term wife, and he had a bunch of fuck buddies on the side. He did have it all. Then later, after he confessed everything to me and let myself love you, I stopped worrying about the contradiction. Good for him. As a guilty man, I knew only way to hide was to act as though I were righteous. And as a husband, I wanted to be with you like we had been before. I lived two lives. Actually, this is him gaslighting her. This is what usually the wives do to the husbands when they've been banging some guy. And this is what they sound like to guys. So I don't feel sorry for his wife at all. At all. We walked out of our marriage and was trying to make things seem less bewildering. It was bewildering to her because, I mean, come on, he was gaslighting her to help me understand how he could have lied to me for so long. In many ways, I was the height of normal in this culture. We were taught to be providers and companions at the same time, to conquer and acquire, specifically sexually, and I was pulling it off. He wasn't conquering anybody. He was having young women throw themselves at him because he was high status, and he accepted. That's what was going off. This is the abuse his mother put into his head with feminism. To put it like he's conquering, he's making women do what they do. This is the gaslighting. This is the abuse. Feminism to men. This guy had it good. That's all that was going on. These women were completely culpable with him. Despite understanding on some level that he was doing wrong, he never considered the hypocrisy of being out in the world of preaching feminist ideals. He wasn't being hypocritical, though. Unless the feminists were going to admit their hypocrisy, he wasn't being hypocritical. Feminists don't believe that women should be shackled to a man, that their sexuality is free. So he was practicing feminism. At least what feminists preach on the surface. Taking away my right to make choices for my life and my body based on the truth. He didn't take any of this woman's power away. He was just banging women on the side. He deceived me for 15 years so he could have everything he wanted. Well, good on him. I believed everyone believed that he was one of the good guys. Isn't this one of the guys that the feminists talk about where he puts up a good front, but he's living his life the way he wants to? I say good on him. It looks good on feminists. Feminists are a hate movement. It's a hate movement, and these women want it all, and the men have nothing. So I'm glad he did what he did. Committed to fighting for women's rights, committed to our marriage, and to the women he worked with. But he was committed to your marriage. He's a feminist. He didn't say he wasn't allowed to sleep around. But I now see how he used his relationship with me as a shield, both during and after our marriage. So no one would question his relationship with other women or scrutinize his writing as anything other than feminist. But it was feminist. Where do you see that feminists say that women have to practice fidelity to their husbands? Where? So of course he's allowed to do the same. I thought we were a couple, a team. I was a powerful influence in the career choices Josh made during the 20 years we were together. I kept him grounded and helped him find his quickest way to success that he so deeply craved and that she craved. She wanted him to be that high status man she could show off. She didn't promise in any way that she was going to be intimate with this man. I loved him, and in return, he lied to me a lot. He said after he left, he understood. It's not just that I killed you, but I'd done it subtly over the years. That I've been poisoning you, chipping away with you. This guy's groveling now. All he did was sleep around. These women sleep around on guys all the time. People have been sleeping around on their spouses since the dawn of time. In the old days, they they just got angry. And that's what this woman is. She's getting angry and coming out after him. By the time he finally confessed the truth 15 years later, his first affair on the set of Buffy, I was broken. My brain could not fit my experiences with our life together through the new lens of his deceit. Wah, wah. Now, this is it, guys. Look, my entire reality changed overnight and went from being a strong, confident woman to a confused, frightened mess. I was eventually diagnosed with complex PTSD for the last 5 years. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Women and men have been sleeping around since the dawn of time on each other, and they just get angry. So she is now trying to say she has PTSD over this. Bullshit, I call. I've worked hard to make sense of everything that happened and to balance my life. It's not been easy because even though in my personal life I have been completely open about what happened publicly, people only know his superficial presentation of us. Him as a lovable geek feminist, and me in the background as wife and supporter. Now, this is it too. We're finally divorced. I'm doing architecture again. What do you mean, architecture again? Is this woman admitting that as soon as she got married to this high status man, that she was living off him? Oh my God. So now that they're divorced, she has to go back to work again. This is what this is. This is what this marriage is. Marriage is a sham for men. This woman expected this man to work for her and not get anything out of it. Nothing. He's not supposed to touch other girls. There's him working on set all the time means they probably didn't get any intimacy with her, that they probably weren't having any sex. And there's nothing to suggest that she wasn't having sex on the side herself. Maybe she was, and she just was never caught. So this guy was supposed to be a good little feminist boy and get nothing. And he bucked the system, didn't he? He gave all the bullshit, the feminist bullshit, while he had this long-term relationship. And then he was able to bang all these girls. And all these girls, by the way, they were fine with it. They were fine with it. Charisma Carpenter was fine with it. And she was fine with him. It's only now that he's the bad man because he didn't know his place. He didn't know he was supposed to just marry some woman, give her everything, and get nothing out of it. Josh Whedon, you're my hero. You showed what kind of liars these people are. You got everything you wanted out of the deal. Now I'm guessing the way you behaved, you're probably a bit of a sociopath. I don't admire that, but it just proves that it takes these guys to be sociopaths to actually get something out of the deal. I love everything about these articles. I love it. And I hope you guys who watch this video learn something from this. Thank you.